Hi guys, welcome to the third episode of Sportstar Extras IPL special. And today we have someone all the way from Australia. You all know him. We all have seen him coach a terrific side in world cricket. The former coach of the Australian cricket team, Mr. John Buchanan. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And also somebody who has seen the first two editions of the Indian Premier League. So he can give us a all-round view of his thoughts about the T20 game, the IPL, and also his memories. So before I start off, I would like to go to my colleague Shayan, and because Shayan and John, sir, you guys have been friends for quite a long time. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your memories from IPL 2009 and 8 and during the early years before we move on to the more technical part.
Yeah. So John sir, it's always good to have you. And when you took over in 2008, IPL was walking to the unknown. Like we never knew that what is in store. So being at charge of Kolkata Knight Riders, one of the heavyweight sides, and which with the illustrious captain, illustrious coach, illustrious owner. So how was the whole experience? It was action packed, as they say in Bombay.
Yes, look, it was completely different, obviously, from playing test matches and one-day cricket. T20 was a reasonably new format in those days. So coming to India, not only was it a new format, but there was something called an auction. There was bidding for players, obviously owners, which is a completely different setup to anything else that we'd experienced. For me personally, it was then dealing with a whole lot of new players. Some, obviously, I'd coached with, like Ricky Ponting and Brad Hodge in the second stanza. But there were obviously a whole range of overseas players, whom again I'd coached against, knew a little about. And the new captain, Shahrukh Ganguly, different accommodations, different training formats, all mixed in with a whole lot of Bollywood interplay, and it was just a completely different, new, exciting, and challenging event.
I wanted to add to what Shayan asked, that IPL was an all-new phenomenon, and you come from a very traditional style of coaching, but then you were always open to new ideas. So what was your message to the players, to your team, before approaching that first few IPL games? What was that thing that you told the boys?
Oh, look, I think what it was in those days was really just one, try to get to know them as quickly as we could, try to get them to just play their own games, at least try to adapt their game to this new format. We did try to, I guess, have game plans set up for various teams or various individuals. And so it was really more, though, a case of...
Yeah. I'll move on to my colleague Shayan, and I think he had a question to ask regarding the a similar train of thought. So Shayan, if you could just shoot.
Yeah, I mean, sir, most of the players, before they came into the IPL, they were busy playing the longer format of the game, majorly the 50 overs and test cricket. So when in the first edition, at least, when most of the Indian stars came in, we saw them struggling initially. They was, they took some time to get used to the format. So how, for a coach, and in a format like the IPL where it's a one win and one lose, and then you're out of the title race. How challenging was it for a coach to ensure that to get the best out of the boys and everything?
Yeah, look, hugely challenging, I think, because I think again, as you said, we were coming from a more traditional sort of format, particularly the likes of Surev and Ricky Ponting and McCullum and Hodge and so on. But the essence of being successful from a batting perspective was, one, you had to have a power game. Two, you needed to be reasonably inventive. You needed to be able to start your innings quickly, and you needed to make quick decisions. And so my first memory of IPL 2008 was obviously the first game when Brendan McCullum teed off and made his 156 or 158, whatever it was.
That was a gem of a knock. I mean, people still talk about that knock even today. It's been 12 years since that game. Shayan, you wanted to continue, I believe, right? So if you could just ask.
Yeah, and sir, quite interestingly, you said like about McCullum, and of course, KKR didn't make it to the last four in the first edition. It's fine. In 2009, you talked out. I still remember that press conference in Calcutta. You spoke about the idea of a split captaincy, and which of course you suddenly had a hate John Buchanan club because the Saurav Ganguly fans didn't take it very happily. So do you think that in the next 12 years that the IPL has grown, do you think that that IPL also the split captaincy is a need of the hour, and how do you see the whole idea? Because in a tournament like IPL, you often if a couple of matches go wrong for a captain, there's a possibility that they might feel demotivated and all that. So do you think that actually the split captaincy idea works there?
I think where the IPL has moved to is virtually an extension of that. I guess my thinking at the time was certainly, as I said before, as a captain, you needed to be able to make quick decisions, and your game needed to be suited very much to the shorter format, and that's why I had those conversations with Saurav and the owners at the time. That I just didn't believe he was suited to that format of the game, and certainly not in a formal captaincy role. Because again, I think it's too much for one person to actually understand all the set plays that you need to put in place, all the various decisions that you need to make reasonably quickly in a game. And so really where it was moving to was to have everybody as a leader. So in other words, almost you're saying not only split captaincy, but you want everybody to be a leader on the field. So I think we see it these days. I think we see that all bowlers are now really in charge of every delivery that they make. All batters are making decisions out in the middle without necessarily the input of the captains and the coaches. And I think that's really where the strength of a team lies, that they've got very, very good decision makers out on the field, albeit that they're not named necessarily a captain. So to some degree, I think IPL has moved in that direction. It's moved, while you have a former captain, obviously, it really heavily relies on everybody else making the decisions on field.
Since you were talking about that Brendan McCullum knock, and there's been so many of such knocks over the years, and the entire concept of batting has changed with the people talking 360-degree cricket. They're using their crease to the optimum. They're playing those ram shots. So how do you see this batting evolution? I mean, it's been a while since you were part of the IPL, but then you have been seeing cricket. So what do you think of this batting evolution, and how far do you think IPL has a role in this?
So I was talking about the V and obviously all on the ground, and I think these days, again, the IPL really rewards batsmen who can have a power game instead of playing the 270 to 360 degrees of the field, and have the ability to lift the ball in the air. The other thing that batting has advantage over bowling is that there is so much batting practice. Batsmen will face bowlers in the nets, and they'll have some throwdowns from coaches. Then they can get onto a bowling machine. And so they're constantly practicing their game, whereas bowlers have a restricted amount of bowling that they can do through the course of the tournament, and therefore are less skilled, less accurate to deliver on the decisions they make, which again gives an advantage to the batting side of the game.
Right. Before we move on to our last question, which I'll give it over to Shayan, I wanted to add one more thing to this, that who are the batters that you are, as well as the bowlers? I mean, if we have to talk about both. Who are the players that you are looking forward to watch in this IPL, and you think that they have something in them to do something special?
Yes, look, I must admit I probably haven't followed it as closely, but I've gone to my Indian statistician Krishna Tunga from All That Cricket, and he's given me some really good insights in terms of who he thinks will play well in the UAE. And while he is a little bit hesitant to recommend overseas players, the likes of Warner and Bairstow to Cockvilliers, and a bit of a question mark on Dhoni, how he goes. But his top batting picks are Virat Kohli, simply because he has a point to prove in the UAE. He hasn't necessarily played there that much and hasn't been that successful. KL Rahul, he sees as one of the players that should stand out in the UAE, and then possibly a David Warner. From fast bowling perspective, Jasper Bumrah, because of his strike rate and his economy rate was excellent last year, and provided he's used wisely, should perform well. Malinga, although he's a bit over the hill and lost his pace, still has incredible variety which should suit these wickets. And then he's looked at Deepak Chahar. Last year he took 22 wickets in 7.47, an incredible economy rate, and was only second of Malinga in terms of strike rate. So they're his picks. From a spinner's point of view, Rashid Khan, Shahal, simply because again he's performed exceptionally well for Bangalore, and Imran Tahir are the picks that he has for this year's IPL.
What are your memories of the IPL? I mean, it could be anything. Like, I'm sure you've had, right from the start and till your stint in 2009. How has been some memories that you would cherish always?
Look, certainly, just the entertainment and all the hoopla that went around a game, a tournament, and so on. Shahrukh Khan was an incredible person to be associated with. Exceptionally generous, after each game was trying to reward the team with a whole set of gifts and so on, whether we won, lose, or, whatever the result might be. The calibre of players that were on show every game, both in your side and your opposition sides. Just the concept that Lalit Modi had put together and the way that he put it together, the intricacies of it, were just mind-boggling, really. Look, it was a format of the future, which it's proven to be. It's an incredible display of cricket into the modern era, the way it's played, the people who play it, the skills that are on display. And, it was just a great pleasure to be part of the first two events.
Thank you so much, John sir, for filling us with all these down the memory lane stories, because we were very young when IPL started, and now we have grown with the tournament as journalists, and it's good to listen to your viewpoints. And thank you so much for joining us. I know there have been a few disruptions, but then we really value your time. Thank you so much, John sir, for doing this with us.